Whoa, it's been a while since I reviewed a TRIGKEY mini PC. Last one was back in 2022. So I'm excited to check out their latest effort, the G12, which joins the ever-growing crowd of mini PCs. But before we get into it, EaseUS Partition Master Professional is a comprehensive storage partitioning app for your PC or server. Resize and extend partitions, clone OS drives, convert MBR to GPT, and even recover lost or broken partitions. Find out more in the video description. TRIGKEY's G12 packs Intel's i5-12450H, an 8-core 12-thread CPU with UHD graphics. This mini PC is a simple looking black plastic box with plenty of air holes on the sides. The bottom plate is metal. There's no bare bones configuration option with this one, and the G12 comes bundled with a 500GB Gen4 NVMe drive and 16GB of RAM for $329 after applying the coupon, which I have to say is decent pricing if you're looking for a mini on the mid-range Intel side. Included with this one is a manual, monitor mount, 2 HDMI cords, power supply, and screws. Look familiar? Yep, it's the same accessory kit you'll find with B-Link minis, as both companies use the same manufacturer, AZW Shenzhen. The front of the G12 has dual USB 3 10GB, a Type-C data port, 3.5mm audio jack, and the power button. The back has Realtek Gigabit LAN, dual USB 2, DisplayPort 1.4, and HDMI 2.0. The DisplayPort apparently supports 4K 144Hz, which I unfortunately can't test as I don't have a monitor capable of that. Oh, and the HDMI port supports 4K 60. So up to dual 4K monitors on this one. Alright, let's open her up. And it's pretty easy. 4 screws and pull off the bottom plate using the handy outer rubber. Here you can add a 2.5-inch SATA drive for extra storage. As with most AZW Shenzhen mini PCs, this one has cooling for the M.2 drive and memory. Another 6 screws to get this cooler off, and here we are. Memory is Crucial DDR4 3200, and the Gen4 NVMe drive is a Crucial P3+. Underneath it is the Intel M.2 Wi-Fi 6 AX200 card, which also handles Bluetooth. Nothing out of the ordinary here. I'm also going to test this Silicon Power UD90 Gen4 1TB NVMe I was sent to see how it holds up. Yeah, I know it's 2230 sized, but you can use it for a Steam Deck or other handhelds and laptops, and there's a full-size 2280 version of it as well. Windows 11 Pro is included with the G12. I tested Ubuntu off a USB drive and it mostly worked. The only problem is HDMI audio is missing. A driver update might fix this issue, but I didn't test further. Otherwise, you can use the audio jack. Alright then, so the TRIGKEY G12 is a mini PC with a lower mid-range price. Let's see how it performs in the full-fat stack of minis that aren't ultra budget. As usual, Intel impresses on the single core front, and the G12 managed to slightly come out ahead of the i5 Intel NUC 12 Pro. It also beat the GMK-Tech M3 slightly, which has the same CPU. Single core is important for the fast, snappy Windows experience and for some applications that aren't multi-threaded. On the other hand, the multi-core result is near the bottom of the stack, but if you take into account that most of the units above cost more, it's not too surprising. Again, the G12 slightly beat the GMK-Tech M3, but at just over 1%, it isn't something to high-five about. Video encoding is another strong suit for Intel CPUs, and the G12 does really well. It beats the M3 by almost 6%. I should mention that Intel's QuickSync hardware decoding, together with better driver support in video editing apps, makes Intel Minis the choice for video editors, and we'll test that shortly. The included Crucial P3+ NVMe drive has decent read speeds, but the sequential write speeds don't even max out a Gen 3 slot, let alone a Gen 4. If we compare the Silicon Power UD90, the sequential read and write are much more impressive. Of course, it helps that it's got double the storage, but it's an interesting comparison anyway. The Silicon Power UD90 comes with a 5-year warranty and will be linked in the video description if you want to check it out. The 3D Mark benchmark shows the weak point of Intel CPUs. The graphics score is nothing to write home about, and this one matches the M3 in DX11 and DX12 as expected. So, can it play some esports titles? Sure, but let's check out 4K video editing performance first. I use the default playback settings in Adobe Premiere, which is half the playback resolution, and the i5 is decently responsive scrubbing across the video. If my video editing rig died, I could edit my next video using this mini PC. Export times won't be quick, but it's impressive what you get for around $300 if video editing is your main workload. Alright, now for some games. Dota 2 at 1080p low, which is the second lowest preset, has the game running in the 70 to 90 FPS mark.
Let's go north! No, south!
Valorant at 1080p low runs well. Most of the time, it's above 150 FPS. There are some dips. League of Legends runs great on almost any potato, so the 12450H has no problem keeping the frame rate above 150 FPS at the highest setting. CSGO 2 is one of the more demanding esports titles out there. The i5 12450H doesn't manage to keep a steady 60 FPS. It can even drop into the 40s. Now let's try an older AAA game. GTA 5 still can't hit 60 FPS at 1080p, so forget modern titles unless they have simple graphics requirements.
Let's get to the chopper! We move quick, we can beat the train!
The G12 makes for a decent emulation box. Breath of the Wild is the most difficult to emulate title on the Wii U, and the 12450H can get around 30 FPS. Which translates to almost full speed in all other Wii U titles. PS3 emulation, on the other hand, isn't too great. Wipeout isn't a hard to emulate title, and the frame rate is low. You'll have to lower the resolution to 720p to get games running at or closer to full speed, and the number of titles will be limited. Idle power draw with the TRIGKEY G12 is nice and low at 8 watts, but the max power draw shoots right up past 100 watts when all cores are under load, which is very strange as the M3 didn't get anywhere near that and the score wasn't much lower. But I tested this multiple times and yeah, run Cinebench and it peaks above 100 watts. Weird. With that much power draw, 93C for the CPU is actually pretty impressive. I mean, it's even lower than the M3. Fan noise is on the higher end. Nothing impressive here, and it's clearly audible under load. The SSD cooling does its job, keeping the NVMe drive under control. It's below anything I'd be worried about, and here are some BIOS options that might be of interest. So let's summarize. TRIGKEY's G12 performs well overall. It features SSD and RAM cooling. It's a good video editing box thanks to Intel's QuickSync and driver support in video editors, but the gaming performance is lacking. Peak power consumption is high, and it doesn't come with any extras such as an SD card slot or USB 4, for example. Overall, it's a competent box in a heavily contested space. If you're looking for an Intel mini PC and one that can video edit, then this one is worth considering. But if you think this mini PC is overkill for your needs, you can check out my top 5 budget Intel mini PCs under $200 right here. Cheers!